So the key phrase in this koan, or this story, is that I have exhaustively searched for this mind, and it is ungraspable. Within that phrase, the two key words are exhaustible and exhaustively, and it is ungraspable. So that's what the Zen masters tell us over and over. So if you're working on a koan, exhaust it. Exhaust the mind. In the beginning of Dogen's Shobogenzo, he contains the line, after searching exhaustively for the way is perfect and all-pervading. It is only after searching exhaustively that you realize the perfect and all-pervading nature of the way. So Eka said, I have searched, and after searching in this way, I find that mind is ungraspable. And he didn't just say, I can't grasp it, but what he was saying is that the very nature of the mind is ungraspable. So this exhaustive study of the self, in Dogen's words, is to forget the small self and to awaken to the light of our infinite nature, our Buddha nature. And Dogen goes on to say, penetrate every nook and cranny, leave no stone unturned in your search. We look and we find what we think it is, and then we find that it's not this, that it's not that. So an exhaustive search, again and again, and I'm still reminding myself of this quite often still, that the mind is ungraspable. It's not perceivable or describable, but it's present. And so we study the nature, we explore the nature of this awareness that we are. What's present right here and now. And so one contemplative exercise that I've kind of done over the years, and that some of my first teachers told me about, is explore your experience of thinking and notice, like Roshi Wick was saying in that passage, that thoughts arise and pass away in a continual flow. But what is it that knows our experience of thinking? Knowing in the sense of experiencing, being aware of, or witnessing. So we know that though we are our thoughts, because our thoughts do arise within our awareness of being present, or we wouldn't know what they were if they weren't in our awareness. But our awareness is present before the thought arises, is present as the thought is expressing itself, and is present as after the thought has dissolved back into our source, our awareness. So practicing for a while, using the techniques that we've learned from Reb Anderson and Maizumi Roshi, of not grasping and not turning away from our experience, just being present to it. And just being present to our thoughts, we notice those gaps that he mentioned. And we can notice that our presence is present there, and through the whole process of our experiencing. You can do the same exercise with our sensations and perceptions, the whole gamut of our human experience. Our presence isn't affected by experience itself, because experience itself is made of the actual substance of our awareness. This is hard to understand if we haven't really experienced it, and I still need to remind myself of it. But we can notice, begin to notice, as he says, notice in the gaps of those thoughts that experience the presence of being aware is ever present. It's the presence that's with us every moment of our life. And so we study, as many masters have said, we study to explore the nature of that by which we know our experience. And what Suzuki Roshi said is, enlightenment is not a special state. It may seem special in comparison to our normal, confined, dualistic mind that we suffer with. But it actually is just things as they are. It's the recognition of the nature of our being. So what is the nature of our being? We need to explore that ourselves to really embody that nature. But to try to put into words is always, I always feel like it's inadequate. The words I say are always inadequate, but it's unconditionally accepting, in my experience, more and more of whatever experience is there, unstained by it. It's ever present. It doesn't come and go. For instance, like it's always now. What time is it? It's always now. Where are we? We're always here. Here is boundless. Presence is timeless. It's always now. So our awareness, it accepts and absorbs all of our experience. That's part of its, or we say, that's part of its unconditionally accepting nature. It's also part of the power of our nature. And many teachers will use metaphors as attempts to try and help us bring this awareness into our bodies and minds, to really kind of accept the energy of our life. What was it? I think it was Master Uman who said, God is the light, or Buddha nature is the light. It's the power of our life force. And human beings are the activity. Our life is the activity of our Buddha nature. So the metaphor of the ocean is an interesting one that I like to use sometimes. Like the ocean is vast, open awareness, and beyond seeming limits. And so is awareness of our essential being. As I was just saying, space is infinite. We can imagine no end to space. Time is boundless. We can imagine no beginning or end to time. So the relation of our experiences and awareness or Buddha nature, the relation between our experiences and our awareness of Buddha nature is sort of like the relationship of a current in the ocean to the ocean itself. So we could imagine the current in the ocean. It is the activity of the ocean. Like our experience, our life is the activity of our Buddha nature. So the masters are telling us that we are the Buddha nature. We are what we seek. So this metaphor can help us open up to the possibility that our actual experience of our life activity is the activity of our Buddha nature, always, in all beings. So the current in this metaphor, is made of ocean water, like our experience is made of our awareness or Buddha nature. It is our ever-present experience that experiences arise in our awareness, like the current manifests in the ocean. So both our experience and the ocean currents are moving in their source, always changing shape. Their manifestations are the timeless flow of the impermanence of our life. And the current doesn't become ocean water. It's always been ocean water. Our experience doesn't become our Buddha nature or our awareness. It's always only been the substance of our awareness. So again, our infinite awareness, our Buddha nature, is what's always been timelessly and boundlessly present every moment of our lives. It's what gives our life the sense of continuity, consistency, stability. And in that sense, it's what, in its ungraspability, in its the inability, it's not perceivable or describable. In that nature, it's what never changes in its ever-present nature. It's what never changes. And one master said to his disciples, that which we are without change, that which we are changelessly, that's what we are beyond all doubt. So our Buddha nature accepts, absorbs all of our experience like the ocean manifests, embraces, and totally saturates, dissolves the current. Our Buddha nature manifests, embraces, and totally saturates and dissolves all of our experience, all of our life. And just like the power of the ocean current is the activity of the power of the ocean itself, the power, the life force of our Buddha nature is the power of our activity, of our experience of life. It's also the love and the joy and the suffering. So in our practice of not grasping and not turning away, in offering all of our experience to our Buddha nature, we begin to realize that it's always already being offered. The offering is a gift, and we can extend that gift to all other beings, being like a conduit for this life force, for this love, for this power of our shared being, the recognition of our shared being. And our personal effort only gets in the way. So our trying to control our life or control others' lives is the cause of our suffering. It's based on our self-clinging. And we'll still feel like we're making efforts, of course, but we learn to question and wonder what is really making this effort. Not grasping and not turning away and being present and exhaustively exploring our desire for the truth of our being and giving it all away, all our experience away. That is our offering. And there's always that opportunity in that offering to give away our sense of being a separate being, which deepens and opens up our awareness of our shared being that we can share with others. So I'd like to stop there, and we have some time for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiken. Very, whoa, that's a tough teaching. It's hard to wrap my mind around all the different points that you made. But in the chapter, towards the end, Thanos writes, in Buddhism, when we see impermanent things as solid, this is called suffering. The cessation of suffering is when we release our demand for the world to be as we want it to be and let it resume its own contours and textures. So it's almost as if, to borrow from something you said, that we're in a boat on an ocean current, just being carried along. And if we try to control it in any way, we get into trouble. The boat tips over and we're gone, we're drowned. But, as human beings, we tend to always grasp. It's like a kid, with a toy. I want this and I want to keep this forever and ever, but it doesn't last. Nothing lasts.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge of our practice, to see that our whole life is just one change after another, after another, after another, as we are born and develop and age, and then eventually we're just a puff of wind, perhaps a memory in somebody's scrapbook or imagination. But while we're here, there's much that we can do to relieve suffering, our own and others, by accepting and integrating the truth of this into our lives. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad you brought up that point about her saying that we tend to think of our life as solid, or as matter is solid, or as, the world is made of solid things. But as we discover and explore deeply the nature of impermanence, we're discovering our own fluidity, that all of life, including all of us, every part of us, even our sensory organs, that we perceive that solidity is really a fluid process of just experience, life energy flowing. That physics, or quantum physics, is telling us now that life is not solid. Things are not solid. And matter is really energy, like Einstein told us. But not to get so, analytical about it, but just experience that. Everything is moving all the time. And we have that experience of groundlessness. But as we begin to recognize the nature of our being, that imperceptible, indescribable stability that's always present, that we are dissolving, in this river of impermanence, but into this really supportive and embracing web of interdependence. We're made of it all together. As Reb Anderson says, we're the whole works, and we're the whole works together. And that is the point, not to be able to get your mind around it. Realize it. We can't get our minds around it.
Well, what keeps coming up for me is this little rhyme we probably most of us learned as a kid. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream.
Yeah.
I don't know, this reminded me of two things. For a lot of you newcomers, you might want to know that our Zen practice is about 80% Taoist and 20% Buddhist. And as a matter of fact, one of the great, I can't remember who it was, one of our great ancestors ordained and gave transmission to both Buddhist practitioners and to Taoist practitioners. So there's this very common link. And the reason I want to say that is because if you read the Tao Te Ching, the very first words are, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. And basically what that's saying is, let go of concepts, because concepts, everything we think of, even every word that Roger said tonight is a concept that came out of his brain. And the words that are coming out of my mouth are obviously coming out of my brain, but it's the whole idea of not knowing and practicing the not knowing as we see that everything is impermanent, and as Roger said, everything is constantly flowing.
anyone who wishes to join the conversation, please do. Just bow in and speak, or if you're on Zoom, unmute yourself.
Chicken, I would really want to thank you for that, because for me, I arrived at that realization by turning the light inward and asking, who was the I that was seeking to know impermanence? And without going through all the steps, I believe at the end of the day, it is the pure consciousness. I think it is the I am, which is, was God's name that he said to Moses. And I believe that we are all an expression of that, and a manifestation at some degree that I do not comprehend, but I know it at a point beyond my brain trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl. Yeah. Exhaustively, I can tell you've been exhaustively searching for a while.
I struggle with all these ideas, like where is the mind? Where people talk about the heart, my heart was broken, but they don't mean that muscle that's in the middle of my chest. Some people talk about a soul, where's the soul? None of these things are graspable. And when Thanos was talking about listening for the gong, I have this ringing in my ears that's constant, but I only hear it when I listen for it. But I know it's always there, right? So when I try to grasp it, when I try to find it, I can't find where it's coming from. Even when I say it's in my ears, it's not. It's somewhere here, right? So how do I inexhaustibly grasp for any of these things, any sound, any mind, any heart, any soul, right? I'm just chasing what I don't even know what I'm chasing. I can hear the ringing now, but I also hear me speaking, but then the ringing's still there.
Yeah.
I'm really listening to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good exploration. What is sound other than the experience of hearing? And what is the ringing? There's just the ringing. There's no label that really you can't really describe it or perceive it, except we know ringing. And that's also kind of an experiential proof of our shared being. When the bell rings, we all have the experience of ringing.
My ringing is tinnitus.
Me too.
Oh,
Little past time now. Does anyone else have anything to offer tonight? Next week, on Wednesday, is our bi-monthly council. I hope I see you all there. It's a great opportunity to bring up your ideas for the Sangha. Any complaints that you have are also fair game. Most of our councils are what's called open council. I have a topic I'd like to discuss this Wednesday, but it's short and sweet, and then it will be after that an open council. Everything we say and we hear in council is confidential, so it doesn't leave this room ever. Please remember to bring a small item that has meaning to you. We make a small altar in the center of the room, and it doesn't have to be something that means something to you spiritually. It can be something that you look at and gives you absolute delight. You know, people brought all kinds of things, seashells from vacation, rocks that they found when they walked in the woods, little statues of Buddha, bigger statues of Buddha, all kinds of things. And we